Let's go. Hello and welcome to the Diski Preview show. This is the midweek edition, and as you can see, for today's games or for this week's games, I've gone with a dark theme. I'm just lights down, just me, you, and the fixtures that are still to come this week. We've got 4 games coming in the UEFA Champions League. Where there was 116, now there's only 8, and there's only 4 matches playing this week. So let's go talk about these matches. This is what you have to look forward to when it comes to the UEFA Champions League this week. Right, we start our journey off by looking at Benfica versus Inter Milan. Yes, Benfica versus Inter Milan will be taking place on the 11th of April 2023 at 9 p.m. From what I can see here, Michael Oliver is going to be the match referee for the first leg. And let's talk about the win probability. First and foremost, obviously, you know, when you watch the Diski Preview show, it's all about the stats and how they can inform your bet. So as you can see, 44% for this one with a 28% draw probability, 28% for Inter to win this game. But 44% for Benfica might hit most of you as a shock, but you have to look at their current form. And as you can see, their current form is sitting at 86% with just the 1 loss in their last 7 games. So they've been doing quite well, 6 wins in a row before they suffered that defeat. When you look at Inter Milan, their form is not the best. They have 3 losses and 3 draws with only 1 win. And guess what? Those 2 back-to-back draws come after 2 back-to-back losses. Not looking good for the side. But when it comes to the history between these 2 teams since the year 2004, obviously, we got to talk about it. And as you can see, Inter Milan have won 2 of the last 3 meetings these teams have had. They won both those games, while Benfica are still to register a win against this opposition. They have not won a game against Inter Milan. A total of 7 goals is what they've scored in this fixture. That's Benfica, with 9 goals scored by Inter Milan. So if you're looking at just the history since the year 2004, it does weigh heavily on Inter Milan being the team to go with in this fixture. Looking at the last 10 games, it seems that Benfica have not been able to keep themselves from scoring goals. They have scored a goal in every single match of their last 10 fixtures, while on the other side, as you can see, 5 games without a win. That is Inter Milan. But these 2 teams have met in the UEFA Cup, round 4, back in 2004, and they also met in a club friendly way back in 2008. And all those games, Benfica was not able to pick up a win. They got a draw. They lost to Inter Milan twice in a row. In fact, if you were to look at it, it's 2 back-to-back losses against this opposition for Benfica. Now we're going into the future fixtures. In fact, I wanted to dwell a little bit on the history. As you can see, Benfica recently, wait, this cannot make any sense because they on, okay, let's see it. Benfica, right now, they've faced the likes of Porto. That is the game they lost. And then the 6 games they won in a row: Rio Ave, Guimarães, Marítimo, Club Bruges, and also a couple of others that mainly I cannot pronounce their names. For Inter Milan themselves, they've been struggling. They drew against Fiorentina, they drew against Juventus, 2 back-to-back draws. They suffered 2 back-to-back losses to the hands of Juventus and Fiorentina, and then they went all the way and drew with Porto before they lost out to Spezia. So it's been not the best of times for both these sides. They came out of their groups as follows. Inter Milan came out second in their group, only managed to secure 10 points, while Benfica were able to secure 14 points in their group and impressively finished in the number 1 position in Group H. And key players to look out for: Edin Dzeko has scored 3 goals in 8 games in the UEFA Champions League this season. Romelu Lukaku only scoring 2 out of 3. He's always deadly when it comes to this part of a competition. And if he's on top form, you can always trust him to get all the goals and so much more. So if you're going to be placing your bets on this one, we'll talk about my prediction. But my prediction for this one is quite simple. I'm going to go for a draw in the first leg. And overall, I think Inter Milan will go through. So first leg, draw, but overall, Inter to go through. Right, we start off. It's Manchester City taking on a Bayern Munich, and as you can see, this match will be taking place on the 11th of April, 2023 at 9 p.m. The referee in this one is going to be Gil Manzano Jesus. He's going to be the referee for this game. Now, 2 big teams. The game is taking place at the Etihad in England, and a lot of us are going to be excited because it's a 2-legged tie in the UEFA Champions League, which means there will be fireworks. Let me tell you about it. win probability sits in favor of Manchester City at 54%, 22% for Bayern Munich, and 24% for the draw. When you look at both these sides, Manchester City right now are on 100% form. 7 wins in their last 7 matches means that they've not put a foot wrong. For Bayern Munich, they've struggled. They've had 2 losses in their last 7. In fact, in the last 4 games, they've had 2 wins and 2 losses to come into this game. So if you look at it, they're sitting on a current form of 71%. Let's talk about history between these two sides. What you will be very interested to find out is that both these teams have not suffered a draw against each other. They've been 5 wins and 5 wins in all 10 meetings that they've had. When it comes to goals, Bayern edges it by just the 1 goal. They've scored 15 to Manchester City's 14 goals scored. When you're looking at the current streaks at this moment in time, Manchester City are on a streak of 5 wins in a row, while for Bayern Munich, they have not been able to stop themselves from hitting the back of the net. They've scored in every single one of their last 10 matches in all competitions. As you can see, 10 matches, 10 matches, and all of them, they managed to score a goal. When it comes to the history of these two sides, the last time they met was in a club friendly. That was in the year 2022, where when Manchester City won it by 1 goal to nil. Bayern Munich lost that one. The last time they met in a international competition, they met in the International Champions Cup, and then Manchester City won it by 3 goals to 2. When you look at their last few matches, we'll start off with Manchester City. They're the home side. They'll go first. As you can see, they managed to beat Southampton 4-1. They beat Liverpool 4-1. They beat Manchester City 6-0. They beat RB Leipzig, a German side. They beat them 7-0, and then they beat Crystal Palace by 1 goal to 0. So if you look at it, in their last 4 fixtures, they've managed to score more than 2.5 goals. In fact, they've managed to score more than 3.5 goals, with all of these fixtures having 5 goals per match or more. And if you look at the other side for Bayern Munich, they managed to get 1 over Freiburg. They won by 1 goal to 0. Then they also beat them in the DFB Pokal by 2 goals to 1. They faced Dortmund. That was the first game for Thomas Tuchel in charge. They beat Dortmund by 4 goals to 2. So a new manager, new regime, and a new fixture in the UEFA Champions League. Can Thomas Tuchel do what he did at Chelsea, come in mid-season and go on to win the Champions League? That is a question that we'll all be waiting to answer. And looking at where they go after this, Manchester City, after Bayern Munich, have to face Leicester, then face Bayern Munich again. So that game against Leicester is going to be very pivotal, as Manchester City are currently still also chasing the league title. For Bayern Munich on the other side, Manchester City top. Manchester City sitting second in their domestic competition. But let's talk about Champions League. Manchester City will be facing Bayern Munich, and as you can see, Manchester City, Bayern Munich. Then Bayern Munich go on to face Hoffenheim. Then they may face Manchester City once again. Both these teams also vying for their local or their domestic trophy, their league trophy, and that's why these 2 games in particular, Leicester City and Hoffenheim, are going to be very pivotal to these 2 teams' progression into both competitions. So for Manchester City, it will be a Leicester City with a new manager. It will be a Leicester City that will be feeling they could maybe take advantage of the fact that they sandwiched between 2 Champions League ties in the last 8 of the UEFA Champions League, and they might try to get something from Manchester City. While Hoffenheim, for them, the same story. They are sandwiched between those 2 ties in the UEFA Champions League. Both these teams topped their group in the UEFA Champions League. Bayern Munich went without a defeat, 6 wins out of 6, and they managed to finish with 18 points and a goal difference and they scored, they managed to finish their group with 18 points, and they scored a goal in every match, leaving them with 18 goals scored in 18 matches. Sorry. Don't know where that came from. Then we move on to Manchester City in Group G. They topped their group. They played 6 games, drew 2 and won 4. They finished their group on 14 points. They also didn't suffer defeat in their group stages. Talking about key players for Bayern Munich, we'll start with them, the away side. As you can see, Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting is sitting top of their goal scoring charts. He's got 4 goals in 6 games, the same as Leroy Sané. Sadio Mane, who came from Liverpool, very familiar with Manchester City, the same with Leroy Sané. In fact, all 3 of these players, 4 in fact with Serge Gnabry, all have their history in the Premier League. And as you can see, Sadio Mane, 7 games played in the Champions League, 3 goals scored. And as you can see, Serge Gnabry also contributing 2 goals in 7 matches. When you look on the other side, you got to talk about Erling Haaland, 6 games and 10 goals scored in the UEFA Champions League this season. Riyad Mahrez has had 8 appearances. He scored only 3 goals. Give you a comparison of just how important Erling Haaland is going to be for this game. When you talk about Erling Haaland, obviously you have to talk about assists as well. Who does he get the assists from? Where does the supply come from? And as you can see, in 6 matches, João Cancelo, who's now a player of Bayern Munich, managed to get 4 assists in 6 matches for Manchester City. He's now at Bayern Munich. And then as you can see, Kevin De Bruyne with 3 assists in 5 matches, and Julian Alvarez with 7 matches played and 2 assists. Leon Goretzka key man for Bayern Munich in the midfield. He's got 7 matches, 4 assists, and the same can be said for the likes of Serge Gnabry and Joshua Kimmich, who have 3 assists in their last 7 appearances. When it comes to this one, it's going to be right cutthroat through the middle. And just to be honest with you, I'm going to give you my breakdown of where I think this one will go between Pep Guardiola and Thomas Tuchel. And I think that this one is safe to say that you have to go for goals. Maybe goals over 2.5, goals over 3.5 is the best way to go. Double chance would also go quite so well. Go for either team to win or go for a draw. Draw home, draw away, possibly. But it does guarantee you goals. I mean, both these teams are in fantastic goal-scoring form, especially Manchester City, with the last 4 games all having goals over 3.5. And Bayern Munich managing to score in every one of their last 10 fixtures. I will say goal. Welcome back to the Diski Preview Show. We're talking all things UEFA Champions League. As you know, it is a midweek episode, so I'll be here on my own giving you the latest in terms of the fixtures that are coming up. We'll move on to Real Madrid versus Chelsea, a game that's taking place on the 12th of April 2023 at 9 p.m. Carlo Ancelotti facing his former club and his former player, managed by Frank Lampard, and facing Chelsea. That's how it's going to go into this one. You can call this one the Ancelotti derby if you want to go that far. But let's talk about win probability. Starting off with the Real Madrid, they sit on 56%, 25% for the draw, and then Chelsea sit at 19% to pick up all 3 and to pick up a result in this game. Looking at their current form right now, not looking good for either side. 64 to 57% for between these two sides, not looking that positive. But looking at the last 7 matches for Real Madrid, 2 losses, 4 wins and 1 draw. That's how they come into this game. But for Chelsea, they'll be dreading this one because they have a current form of 57%. They've just changed managers. Frank Lampard lost his first game back in charge, and right now they're sitting at a form of 57%, 3 wins in a row, and then in their last 4 games they've not been able to pick up a win. Looking at their history between these two sides since the year 2013, it seems that majority of the wins have gone in the favor of Real Madrid. They have 3 wins, 1 draw against his opposition, and they've only lost twice to Chelsea. And looking at it, they've scored more goals. They've scored 12 goals in this fixture, while Chelsea have only been able to master only 10 goals in this fixture. When you talk about streaks right now, Real Madrid have been able to find the back of the net in their last 6 games, and that's going to be very, very stressful for Chelsea, who have been struggling to keep it out of the back of their net. Let's talk about Chelsea right now. They lost a few games. They faced Wolves and lost by 1-0. They drew against Liverpool 0-0 in that first game. After the departure of their manager Graham Potter, and then before that they lost out to Aston Villa, the match where Graham Potter actually got sacked, and then before that game they drew to Everton 2-2. For Real Madrid, it's been quite an interesting run of games. They beat Liverpool 1-0 in the round of 16 of the UEFA Champions League. They went on to then lose out to Barcelona 2-1. Then they faced Valladolid and beat them by 6-0. Then they went on and continued that goal-scoring form against Barcelona again, beating them by 4-0. Karim Benzema getting 2 hat-tricks in 3 games. Interesting. And then it went on to Villarreal, where Real Madrid lost it by 3-2, which shows that in domestic competition you can't always get it right. And then let's talk about how they came out of their groups. Chelsea topped their group. Real Madrid also topped their group. And as you can see, both topped their group on 13 points with 4 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss for both these sides. Talking about key players, Vinicius Jr. is one that you cannot ignore. You need to mention Vinicius Jr. 8 games, 6 goals, and his striking partner, Karim Benzema. This kind of shows an over-reliance on the front 2 from the side. As you can see, Benzema also 6 games played, 3 goals scored. Quite impressive. On the other side, Raheem Sterling as well, 7 matches played, 3 goals scored, while for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, he played 6 games. That was back in the group stages, and then he scored 2 goals. Kai Havertz, 8 games played, only 2 goals scored. And as you can look at this, a new manager means that new players get a chance to play. And the question is, will these guys still be involved enough in these 2 ties against Real Madrid to actually affect the game for Chelsea? So that's how it goes. When it comes to this one, I'm going to go for a draw, double chance. I'll go for Real Madrid to win it, or a draw to come out of the first leg. But overall, I don't see Chelsea going through to the next round of the Champions League. I don't know if you feel different. If you do, please slot it in the comment section below. But for me, it is a Real Madrid going to the next round. But for the first leg, I do see a Real Madrid win or a draw. Welcome back to the Diski Preview show. We've talked about all things Champions League midweek fixtures coming up. Benfica facing Inter Milan, Man City facing Bayern Munich, Real Madrid will be facing Chelsea. Now we move on to the big one. AC Milan going to be taking on Napoli, an all-Italian affair in the last 8 of the UEFA Champions League. And let's talk about it. Two rivals that know each other domestically. Now they're about to go head-to-head in the UEFA Champions League. Let's talk about their win probability. 33% is sitting with AC Milan, 30% for the draw, and 37% going the way of Napoli. This might be down to the fact of the familiarity between these two sides having met also in domestic competition. Now let's talk about their current form. AC Milan sitting on 50%. They have had 2 wins, 3 draws and 2 losses in their last 7 games. On the other side, Napoli, they have 71% current form. They have lost 2 out of their last 7 games. The rest of them are wins. We go into the history since the year 1993. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more in terms of figures when it comes to this one. 14 wins going the favor of AC Milan, 15 going the way of Napoli, and 16 going the way of a draw. So as you can see, 31% in terms of a win in the history for AC Milan, 33% in terms of the win in the history for Napoli, and 36% going towards the draw in terms of the history of this fixture. When it comes to goals scored, I mean, it's split right through the middle. As you can see, 54 goals scored in favor of AC Milan, while on the other side, Napoli have scored 53 goals in this fixture in particular. They've met, as you can see, the history does point to the fact that they've met in the Serie A every season, 2023-22, 2021-20. You see all those are right there in terms of their last meetings, and you can see what the result has been at the Giuseppe Meazza. And the last time they met, Napoli has won their last 3 games at the home of AC Milan. So very interesting stat. They're very worrisome looking at the fact that this history goes all the way back to 2019. So AC Milan have not been able to beat Napoli at home since they did so all the way back in the quarterfinals of the Coppa Italia back in 2019. So 5 matches taking place since then. And 4 matches taking place since then, and 3 of them going in the favor of Napoli, 1 of them going the way of a draw. Now we got to talk about how both these teams came out of their group stages. AC Milan unfortunately came out second in their group stages. They secured 10 points with 3 wins, 1 draw and 2 losses, while Napoli themselves, they secured 15 points, 5 wins, 1 loss, and that's how they made it out of their group into the next round of the UEFA Champions League. I mean, if you ask anyone about these two sides, they're always going to mention these 2 names, and the first one's going to be Victor Osimhen. He's had 5 games in the UEFA Champions League this season. He's got 4 goals. He's been unstoppable with a goal per match ratio of 0.80. Gotta look out for that man. But you look at that man down here, the Georgian. His name is Keravadona, according to the nickname that the world of football has given to him. 7 matches played and 2 goals scored. While on the other side, Olivier Giroud, managing to pick up 4 goals in the last 8 games of the UEFA Champions League. And when you look at assists, it paints a different picture. Olivier Giroud getting 2 assists from 8 games. But Kevaradona, that's where he's been very influential for Napoli. They've managed to get 4 assists in their last 7 games. Now, talking about recent history, these 2 teams met not so long ago. They met in the Serie A, match day 28. And Napoli lost out to AC Milan by 4-0. 4-0. And that's exactly what is affecting that win probability right at the top, 33%, 30%, and 37%, because of the last time these 2 teams met, AC Milan managed to beat Napoli by 4-0. Now, that's how we're going to go into this game. And speaking of which, obviously at this point I'll have to give you my prediction. But I just want to say with this game, I mean, Napoli, I saw a tweet come out the other time, a couple of days ago, where someone had predicted the next 10 UEFA Champions League winners from the year 2014. And he predicted all 3 Real Madrid's titles. He predicted Liverpool's title, Chelsea's title, Bayern Munich's title, and Real Madrid's title from last season, which means that this year he did predict that Napoli can go on and win the UEFA Champions League. I personally think that Bayern Munich are the team to beat in the UEFA Champions League this season. I know Real Madrid managed to knock Liverpool off their boots and remind everyone why they are the champions of the world. But I do think that between Napoli and Bayern Munich, that's where it's going to go, and that's where I think the UEFA Champions League will be facing. But in terms of this fixture in particular, because we're going to take it one match at a time, one fixture at a time, I'm going to go with Napoli for this one, because I do genuinely believe that Napoli have what it takes to go on and actually win this game and the tie overall. So I think with that 37%, that little edge of, you know, I think it has to go to Napoli. So for my prediction in this game, I'm going to go for Napoli.
The Betfred promise is value for money, friendly service and fast payments. When you choose to bet, bet Fred.